All right, guys, we are here at the PharmD Finance Show. We got a special guest. I got a good friend, Robert, here joining us from Horace Mann. So I'm going to introduce him in a second. Again, Derek is going to help kind of make this a light conversation on how our pharmacists could really save with using health insurance, or not health insurance, I'm sorry, insurance bundles like Robert has. So, Robert, thank you for joining us. Let us know, give us a little bit of background about yourself and about Horace Mann and kind of how this all started.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Been in the insurance industry since 2004. Prior to that, I was in the Marines, from the Marines to AAA. Everybody's familiar with AAA. Had a good career at AAA for 6 years. And my primary job at AAA was to get people to switch from whatever company they had for auto insurance and homeowners insurance to AAA. And I was really good at my job. I was actually the best in the country. Closing ratio was 89%. But I had a problem. Anytime somebody came to AAA and they asked for a quote, or I tried to get them to switch from Horace Mann to AAA, it never worked out. So that was kind of my introduction to Horace Mann, is being their competition and getting smoked every time. So when the opportunity came around to become a Horace Mann agent, I was really interested in it. And that was back in 2010. I've been with the company now for 13 years. And the history of Horace Mann is pretty interesting. It was started by two math teachers back in 1945. The whole idea behind these math teachers starting an insurance company that was at the time exclusively for teachers was that individuals who have a bachelor's degree or higher typically have a 22% less loss ratio on their auto insurance, meaning they're better drivers. So by isolating these individuals into their own insurance company, they were able to pass down the savings while at the same time giving the best possible coverage available on the paper. So since that time, Horace Mann's grown into the largest multi-line insurance company in the United States that caters primarily to the education community. And Sean, in talking to you and learning about how you work with pharmacists, and knowing that pharmacists also have a bachelor's degree at least or higher, just thought that this might be a good partnership to bring the resources that Horace Mann has to you and to the people that you serve.
I love it, Robert, because also too, like pharmacists, most people don't know, we're actually really good educators too. Like we're right there front line for the people. So technically we are educators, just not in the same realm as, or the same category as the teachers are. But so Robert and I met back in October, I think it was in September, October, at a church gathering, and it was great. And I started talking about PGX, and his wife is a nurse. And so that kind of sparked his interest, and we continued talking. And then that's where we started talking about Horace Mann, and where I got to learn about kind of their kind of like how they operate. And I was really intrigued by that, just because it's just like what he does is just takes care of people as far as their needs when they need something done for an insurance claim or something like that. It's just really a lot of hand-holding, personal touch. So that's what I liked. And then we kept talking, and we got a kind of a package deal that we're going to be rolling out to all of our California pharmacist members in the near future. And with some success there, we're going to hopefully expand nationally to all the rest of our members. So that's why we wanted to bring Derek along on the conversation as well, because it's like, from a financial perspective, personally, sadly, I have to admit my wife deals with all the insurance pieces, but after this, it's like I'm going to bring her in, and we're going to start talking to Robert here in the near future. So that's the backstory here, Derek. So anything you want to ask Robert about this, as far as the bundling and the savings and kind of how that goes?
Yeah. So when it comes to insurance, I think it's one of the more confusing financial topics people can get into. So just like anything that matters in life, it's always important to have an expert by your side when it comes time to make big decisions, specifically dealing with things that are confusing, like insurance.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't matter how smart you are, it still gets pretty into the weeds when you need to analyze that sort of stuff. So having somebody who's got experience backed by a really reputable company like Robert, I think, is a no-brainer for a lot of people who are looking for that type of service. My question for Robert is if he can just dive in a little deeper and explain more about what that bundle would look like.
Yeah, sure. And just to touch on what you just said, it's true. Insurance these days is treated like a commodity. With and it's advertised as the lowest price wins, and that is not in the best interest of really the client. And that professional touch or being able to educate individuals on what insurance is supposed to do is where we kind of separate ourselves. If we're servicing educators, we also have to be good at educating. And so, what I like to tell people that insurance isn't just a bill that you pay every month. It's supposed to do something for you when the time comes, and making sure that it's going to perform and get you out of the mess you're in or the jam you in is important. So, but yeah, the bundle typically looks like our average client has everything with us. We like to say we're a one-stop shop for all things financial. So auto insurance, of course, homeowners insurance. If you have rental properties, we can insure rental properties. If you're renting, we can insure renters insurance. Umbrella insurance, which I think is probably going to be pretty important for pharmacists. And it's not talked about a lot, but an umbrella is a pretty inexpensive way to get at least $1 million or more in additional liability coverage. And the reason why that's important is if you do have a loss and you're at fault and now you're being held liable for the injuries or, God forbid, the death that occurred in an accident, your personal assets come into the table. And without an umbrella, you could end up paying for those injuries yourself or those losses yourself. So umbrella. And then also we do life insurance, all types. There's a lot of different types of life insurance out there. We have them all available, and it's just a matter of having a conversation, understanding what best fits our client's needs, and we can place them with the right policy. And then we also do retirement and financial services as well. So that's anything from college savings plans for kids to retirement accounts through IRAs. We do 403Bs for educators, that wouldn't really apply to a pharmacist, but we also have 403Bs for educators. So that's kind of our bundle package, or what we like to call the horseman value proposition.
Very nice. I know one of the topics that people don't know they need to know until it's too late is homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
They really don't care about their homeowners insurance. It's just a line item on their monthly bill, quarterly bill, whatever it is, until they actually have to use it.
Yeah.
And by the time they understand they have to learn about it, it's probably too late. What do you see as one of the biggest misconceptions or oversights when it comes to an individual purchasing homeowners insurance?
Yeah, great question. The thing that I see most common is people believe that all homeowners insurance is the same. There's actually 3 different types of policies in California. There's basic, broad, and special. And this gets into the actual policy language of what type of policy you have. So special is actually the best type of coverage you can get. It covers everything except for what is specifically excluded. So on a special foreign policy, you don't have earthquake included. That's always going to be a separate coverage, and you don't have natural floods included. That's going to be a separate coverage. So Horseman only offers the special foreign policy, and it just eliminates any gray areas for our clients. If they all have the best possible coverage available, then we're putting our best foot forward. And people do find out about coverage gaps when they have a claim. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you only have, fire only or basic coverage, or not the extensive coverage that they thought they had." So we try to just kind of eliminate the risk of doing that by offering the best that's available in California.
I think that's really, really important, because most of the time people don't know what they need to be insured for.
Yeah.
So having that specialty policy and knowing what you're not insured for is probably a lot easier than trying to figure out everything you could want to be insured for before it's too late. What, in your opinion, Robert, is a proper cadence for a teacher, educator, pharmacist, or anybody else when it comes to reviewing or updating their line of insurances?
There are certain triggers. Any major change of lifestyle, if you're getting married, if you're becoming an empty nester, or if you're having kids, like all of those are good times to review. If everything is kind of status quo, once every other year will probably be a good idea to review things, make sure things are moving in the right direction, especially if we're talking on the financial side. Homeowners insurance is kind of built. Our policies are actually built, and our programs are built to adjust automatically as time goes on. Like, for example, if you have home insurance with us and you wrote the policy 10 years ago, your coverages are automatically going to update to reflect current cost of reconstruction, things like that. And that automatically happens every year. But on the financial services side, it's important to keep up with that a little more often as needs change, as the market changes, things like that.
I got a question for you, Robert.
And
so,
Sean, you'd step in.
Yeah. You kind of said it, like major life changes would be a good time to update this. So, one of our goals at RPHLI is getting our pharmacists equipped to go out off into create their own businesses with the consulting services or other pharmacies, things like that. Kind of thinking about that subgroup of people, great time to do that as well, as far as kind of self-employed kind of business ventures, things like that.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot to talk about there if you're going to go from, as you know too, Sean, when you make that leap from, being employed to being self-employed, there's a lot that comes onto the conversation. As far as insurance related, yes, there needs to be some changes made there too, because now you've opened yourself up to a whole lot more liability than you were as an employee. Because an employer covers a lot of that cost of liability coverage.
And then on top of that, you have also, like the financial packages as well. So like IRAs and things like that you would help invest as part of that coverage and kind of monthly expense. So, because honestly, that's always, you don't see it when it's taken out of your W-2 check, when you got an IRA or a 401k with a business or with a W-2 job. But now you need to still incorporate that into your future retirement, right? So that also could be a good, good package to look at as well. I know Derek would love to probably pick your brain on that one some more.
Yeah. No, what we look at is the financial health of the whole household. So it's from the coverages on your home and auto insurance, making sure that your plans that you're making for life are carried through if you were to pass away with life insurance, making sure that your retirement years are comfortable if you live a long, healthy life. So it's looking at everything and tying it all together. And that's one of the benefits of being with Horace Mann is we're not a single line focused. We can look at the whole household and make it all tie together, make it all make sense. And I'll tell you an example that's kind of opposite of that. A lot of times, we'll work with high net worth individuals like superintendents of school districts, things like that, and their financial picture as far as their retirement looks great. And then we'll go to visit their auto insurance, and they'll have limits that are way below where they should be for the amount of assets that they have. So they have this weak link in this chain that they have that can potentially jeopardize everything that they've worked for. So being able to look at the whole financial household really creates a strong financial plan, and everything makes sense.
That makes sense. I like that example because we do have a lot of pharmacists who have done very well for themselves, right? And then all of a sudden, if they have some sort of cheap auto insurance just to save $1 here, I never thought about that before, that they'd be jeopardizing the rest of their futures based off of one bad accident, right? So very fascinating. Awesome. Derek, anything else on that?
The one thing I will touch on that Robert brought up right away that I think is extremely important, but far too often underplayed or forgot about, is umbrella insurance. So I'm glad he brought that up. It's just another thing I think a lot of higher net worth or higher income individuals need to be aware of. And I don't think it's brought up enough.
Yeah, true.
Can you go a little bit more deeper on that one, Robert? Because I mean, that's fascinating that you brought that up, because a lot of our insurances that we have, like for our liability insurance as a pharmacist, like they have decent coverages, but having additional coverages, would that benefit if you have two?
Yeah, so an umbrella by design is meant to stack, meaning that it's meant to be in excess of the underlying liability limits. So there's two types of umbrellas. There's personal and then there's business umbrella. So if a pharmacist is working for a company, they don't need the business umbrella. But if they are self-employed, they would want to have both, because the liability can come from either area. But essentially, an umbrella, the reason why it's called an umbrella is because all of the underlying policies are underneath it. So if somebody has their auto insurance, their home insurance, a rental property, those are all underneath the umbrella, and whatever limits are on those underlying policies, if they become exhausted in a liability claim, that's when the umbrella would kick in. So, for example, let's just say it's a loss from an auto insurance accident, and the limits on the auto insurance are $500,000. So, and there's you know what, I say that there's a serious injury, but these days it doesn't even have to be a serious injury. I had a client that had a $1.5 million payout on a shoulder injury. It wasn't even that serious, but well, let's say that there is a large liability lawsuit coming, and there's $1 million that needs to be paid out. Well, the auto insurance is going to be exhausted at $500,000. So at that point, as far as that policy is concerned, and as far as that insurance company is concerned, they're done. Their legal obligation to you and to the accident is paid for. So that once that $500,000 is paid, there's no other recourse there. But having an umbrella, that's when it would kick in. So now you'd have an additional either $1 to $5 million of coverage with the umbrella to be able to pay for the excess liability that's there, and thus relieving yourself from having to pay that additional liability expenses.
And I think it's important to note too that umbrella insurance, at least in my experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but it offers one of the biggest bangs for your buck. Because it's not that expensive, but the coverage is fantastic. So if you don't have umbrella insurance, if you heard about it, but you're hesitant of looking into it because you don't want to pay that much more, it's not probably as expensive as you think it is.
There is no need to correct you. You're spot on. Yeah. I mean, typically, if you have two autos in a home, an umbrella is going to cost you under $300 a year. Mm-hmm. For $1 million of coverage. So yeah, it's pretty inexpensive.
And then
for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is that similar to included in that umbrella would be for the business as well, or are you talking another? Is that like a different plan?
So personal umbrella is only for personal liabilities, and then a business umbrella would cover the business.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, perfect.
And they don't cover each other's liabilities. A business wouldn't cover personal, and a personal wouldn't cover business.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions for Robert, Derek?
Yeah, a final question is, Robert, you're located in California. Do you work with California residents only, or can you work with people all over the country?
So Horseman is situated, they're able to work with people all over the country. But me and my team, we're limited to California based on our licenses. So my team and I represent pretty much most of Southern California. But even if they were to reach out to us and they're outside of our jurisdiction, I can refer them to the agent that's in their territory. Because Horseman is divided by territories. So. But if you're in Southern California, more than likely, my team and I is going to be the representative.
And the easiest way to get a hold of you would be just Google your name and find your contact information, or what?
Yes, you can do that. There's you'll see my website pop up if you did that. My email address is pretty easy too. It's my first name, my last name @horseman.com, or robert.stepanian horacemann.com. Spelling of my name is right there on the screen. So, and Horace Mann is HORACEMANN, and that'd be the best way to get hold of me.
Yeah, and I'll be including this in an email campaign coming up to all of our members. We'll be kind of blasting this out on social media, trying to get more pharmacists kind of in the RPH Alley to help get them connected with you as well, Robert. And also on that note that Derek had asked, like if others are outside of California and they still connect with you, would they still be able to get a referral over to someone in that area?
Yep, we have great agents across the country. I know them all personally, and I'd be happy to connect them with one of those agents.
It's awesome, Robert. Well, we appreciate your time and all the knowledge, and hopefully we send some pharmacists your way so we can get some better coverages out there and save some money at the same time. So,
looking forward to it. Be happy to help.
All right. Thanks again. Take care. Catch you next week, guys.
See ya.